Hello, all, and welcome back to another episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are going to be reviewing an animated film, Elemental. Sarah, do you want to kick us off with an IMDb summary for Elemental? This one should be interesting.
Yes. This is another really frustrating one-sentence summary, so buckle up. It starts our favorite way. Follows Ember and Wade in a city where fire dash, water dash, land dash, and air dash residents live together.
Oh, that's it.
Yes, that is it. That is
and
our
also not a
summary.
complete sentence. That's
No.
Sentence is a generous word for this phrase.
There is another one that is multiple sentences long, but I decided to go with the far more frustrating one-sentence summary.
Because that's more fun.
Exactly.
Follows.
I love it when they start with follows.
This movie follows.
Mm-hmm. The other one-sentence summary starts out with the film journeys. So,
yeah.
They're actually making full sentences here.
Also, follows just feels so passive.
Right?
Like, no, we are like in the seat together with them in this adventure. No? Please. Follows.
Mm-hmm. We're following Ember and Wade. That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
Like their shadow. Yes, we are stalking them. Mm-hmm. That is all movies are, is us as the
just
audience stalking the characters. Yes, indeed.
Man, we all need to be indicted. We've stalked a lot of people in our lifetime.
And probably some therapy.
Yes.
What is at the root of this?
Yeah, like why are we always stalking people? And in TV shows, we stalk people over like hours and hours of their life.
It's very true. Yeah, like
one stalking session can happen for years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
I mean, with Grey's Anatomy, some people have stalked them for like 20 years.
20 years. Law and Order is the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, this took a dark turn for a kids movie.
Yeah, why are we like this?
It's going to be a weird conversation. I can already feel it.
Oh, man. Okay, well, on a different note, our one-sentence summaries for this animated children's movie. Sarah, please.
Oh, I'm not going to make it any better. My one-sentence summary is, sparks fly in this steamy animated rom-com.
Oh, my. Oh, my. That had some spice in there. I loved it, though.
I thought you'd like it.
Mine, I'll give us a palate cleanser. Mine is very vanilla.
We need it.
My one-sentence summary is, science is so sentimental.
Aww. That's really sweet.
We've got a good spectrum here. We've got like steamy rom-com to sentimental science.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
And like stalking somewhere in there in the middle,
Yeah.
In the mix. Wow.
Yeah, that's a little creepy.
Well, let's start off with our initial thoughts of Elemental. And in this first half, we will not spoil this steamy rom-com, children's rom-com. And we'll have all of the spoiler territory in the second half. So, Sarah, tell me your thoughts about Elemental.
This is an interesting one because I enjoyed my experience in the theater. Had a great time. All the fun characters, Elemental City. I liked the like how many themes this film was trying to address, and I was really impressed that they included that many things in one children's movie. But then afterwards, the more that I've thought about it, the more that I'm like, I don't know that I loved certain portions of this. I think I almost wish that they would have pared down some of the things. I feel like they were trying to tell a bunch of different stories. And trying to do a bunch of different themes, and I wonder if maybe they had like trimmed some things down, if maybe it would have been a little bit I don't know if the story would have been more fluid. To me, it was kind of like jumping around, and we'd jump back in time to some flashbacks that I was like, I don't know that that felt natural. So there's some little things with the story and some of the themes that I have some uh, quibbles with, I would say. And I also have some questions about this world. Uh, I actually have a lot of questions about the world, but it's a fun movie. It was an enjoyable movie going experience, and yeah, I think there is a lot to talk about with this one though, which is always fun.
Yeah, I walked out of theater feeling like, this was really great. It probably isn't my favorite Pixar movie that we've watched in the past couple of years. But there's some really great things that this movie weaves in with um, showcasing like societal dynamics that I thought was really fascinating and kind of difficult to do. I think we've seen stories from Pixar and Disney in the past few years that have definitely focused on um, people of color experiences and diverse storytelling, and that's all been great. But they've been focused on like a smaller individual storyline around a character and a family, and we get that in this movie as well. But there are these little moments where we see our main characters travel to the center city and feel that sense of um lack of belonging, unlike the way that the that city is not built for someone like her. I just thought that that would be such a smart and interesting way for parents to bring up this idea of like systemic racism and
Hmm.
societal structures with their kids in a way that's really accessible. And the visuals of that being emphasized, I thought was really, really neatly done and elegantly done. I think it could feel a little bit, like um, shoehorned in, but that felt very natural. And you could see visually the differences in the way that, Ember might have felt like she stuck out like a sore thumb. So I think that was the most impressive thing that this film did. There are some things with this like little romance situation that I that I thought was kind of interesting. Specifically, there's a moment where towards the end, Wade just shows up to things that I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't love this. This is supposed to be positioned as how great and heroic and romantic, but I think there's some problems with that. So I had some qualms there as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think what you're mentioning about the systemic racism was probably like my favorite part of this film.
Mm-hmm.
Though I do wish that it could have gone just a little bit further. Um, one of the central issues in this is that Firetown is like an under resourced area. And
Mm-hmm.
I wish that the film had maybe done a little bit more regarding that. I don't know. I think uh, there was an opportunity there to make that theme even stronger, and show the characters doing something rather than just like,
Saving.
this is what
Yeah.
it is and we need to solve this one little bitty problem without actually talking about like the structural and like bigger problems. Obviously you're not going to solve structural racism and like redlining and things like that in one Pixar movie, but I wish that there had just been a little bit more intentionality to like, hey, there's something larger at play than just this one little leak.
You bring up an interesting point, your comments around the structure, because it does feel like there's these two main tensions here. There's the tension of, at a smaller like family level, Ember taking over her father's store, which I think that in of itself could have been a whole movie, honestly.
Yes, yep.
That's a great storyline. The responsibility she feels, the sacrifices that she's seen her parent, like all of that, I think could have been fleshed out in a whole movie and would have felt so satisfying. And then
Hmm.
to your point, there's the other tension here, which is at the macro scale, like let's say essentially like let's save our community and um, the fire people coming together to figure out how do we one solve for this current leak, but then two help build for a better future or advocate for something better for ourselves. And we could see the way that Wade can serve as an ally or help connect them or whatever. There's that whole angle there. But those two things are happening at the same time, which I think maybe is it's an interesting point that you hadn't thought about. But had they focused on one or the other as the central tension that everything else revolves around and serves, maybe this could have been tighter and stronger.
And in addition to those two things, you also have a rom-com happening. Like, it feels like
Yes.
there are like three different giant things happening in this film, and I think
Hmm.
three is probably too many.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Actually, yeah. The whole Romeo and Juliet of their relationship of like how do they try and be together. I think there's also some like interesting commentary there around like
Hmm.
being in an interracial relationship and the cultural
Yes.
leaps that you both make to learn about and empathize and understand each other. That also could have been a whole movie. You're right. So there's three.
Yep. Okay, so we needed an elemental trilogy.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
And so we can get to all these. We start out, we meet Ember, and she's worrying about her dad's shop,
Yeah.
that whole thing. And then
Micro. Yep.
yeah, and then we can go either way. We can go romantic comedy if we want, and then we can go to macro, or we can go to macro and then romantic comedy. Either way, it works. Uh, but yeah, there's a lot here for one little movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is quite a bit. And I think we're reacting to the fact that there's so much depth in each of those. I actually think that
Hmm.
the romance could be potentially like woven in together with one or two
Yeah.
and somehow just make that a little fun side plot
Hmm.
situation. Um but if they wanted to go the romance route and really focus on that relational dynamic, it could feel a little bit more like Luca, where it's just small scale, these three friends, this small micro interpersonal relationships and how they all work out together. That could work too. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Elemental
there's
trilogy.
just a lot going on in this film. And I appreciate the ambition to try and do all of this. Like, this is a lot to pull off in one film. And I think they pull it off fairly well. But I I just wish that there was more room to flesh out some of these things, because they're
Hmm.
all like, especially her responsibility that she feels toward her dad, and that feeling of like being the firstborn of an immigrant family and all of those pressures, like, that's huge. And then all of the societal, like, bigger stuff, that's also huge. And so I wish that there was just more room to explore them.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I do appreciate that, like you said, like, this is an opportunity for families to watch this, and then parents can have further conversations with their kids. I think
Hmm.
that's a really helpful tool.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Like, do you remember when Ember showed up at the game and like was in the audience and she's sitting next to all these people and um worried about them evaporating, like
Hmm.
and the way that the subway was not is on water, like it's literally unsafe for her with the way that she's wired. Had she, it's the system is not, the world is not designed for it. It's optimized for the people that are in power. Okay, let's maybe include our spoiler alert here. This feels like a good time, and we'll have full reign. So if you haven't seen Elemental, it is out, available in theaters. We recommend checking it out before continuing to listen. Okay, so let's talk about the way that elemental city or element city,
I think
element
it's
city,
Element City.
element city.
I
Yes,
could be wrong.
yeah. Um, I actually thought that this movie, the name Elemental, would have like I expected to see more of all of the elements interacting together,
Mhm.
and the dynamics between them. And I kind of love that the movie chose to focus more specifically on fire and water, right? Like we see most of the storylines, and our main characters are from those two people groups, for lack of a better term. And there's all this insinuation of who is in power, because when she shows up at City Hall, it is built reflective of the style of the earth people, and many of the people that are in power there, the government officials, are earth people. And then we also see the lady named Gale, who is a cloud or wind species, and she also seems to be in a position of power. And so, even within Elemental City, which seems to be designed for those that are, more wealthier and have more means, is also like systems and hierarchies in place amongst those that are also in power. And I just thought those little details of the way that the setting and who they've chosen to play these roles, and um, the character types of the elements, is it was just interesting choices to see, like, systemic hierarchies of power, and how certain people groups can often occupy those echelons of society.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And then you see how so much of the city is designed for water, all of those slides, and then air can also use the
Yeah.
slides in that way. So it's interesting to think how it was designed structurally to make certain elements more comfortable, or allow for them to get places more quickly, instead of having to use the stairs, they could use the slide. Things like that are really interesting to see. I do wish that we had spent more time in
Me
Element
too.
City, though.
Me
Like,
too.
that was so fun, I think, in imagining how a city would work with all of these elements trying to coexist together. I just I those were my favorite little moments when we were just hanging out in the city and palling around. Uh, I also just love the creativity that they used in making this. I was just in awe.
Yes, I think in general, this movie is so visually imaginative in a way that was so exciting to see, and fun for kids for sure, but also just like a feast for like me as a full grown adult to see, like, all of the things that um each of the elements can do. Like, and I what I loved is that it's not just for maybe like the visual spectacle of it all, but you really see the way that Wade, as a water person, has all of these like unique abilities to create art and beautiful things
Mhm.
with a rainbow. And then you see the way that uh, embers can like jump on the different minerals, and it lights her up different colors. Like, it's such a like visually beautiful representation of the way that, like, because we are all wired differently, we actually bring different skill sets, different talents, different perspectives to the world that are very different from each other, but can be complementive, and can are different in beautiful ways. I just thought that was like such a visual way to showcase that they're not creating the same things, the same beauty, but they are both beautiful in what they create.
Mhm. And they both appreciate what the
Each
other one
other.
brings,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was so fun.
Mm, yeah. And I think the other thing that was neat visually too is to see that the way that in moments of crisis they use their different superpowers to work with each other. Like, um, Ember's ability to create glass from sand was able to happen because Wade is able to like push back all of the water and that's leaking through that hole. And so the combination of them together is able to accomplish that task. It's actually like a perfect representation of like diversity and collaboration, like, we actually
Yeah.
serve different functions, and they work together well.
Yeah, and the need for different perspectives, different skills to come together and work collaboratively rather
Mhm.
than being combative with one another.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's a lot in this movie.
Right? Yes. It's stuffed in there, it's packed in. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
probably things that we've even missed too that didn't even realize.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah. But yes, more time in Element City would have been so fun. I actually wonder if I mean, they're probably gonna make sequels of this, but there's
Mhm.
so much unexplored territory. So many storylines, like, I wanna know about an Earth family, and what do they like, what
Yeah.
are their relational dynamics like? What do they what's that main tension for them gonna be, and what journey will they go on? And the Cloud people, we also haven't spent that much time with.
Yeah, I'm sure that Pixar has a whole plan for creating more elemental properties.
Mhm.
Because like because you can tell they invested so much like time
Mm,
in creating this whole world. I don't feel like they would do that just for one movie. So I'm certain we're going to be revisiting Element City and all of these characters again.
mhm. It's, like, set up for world building by
Yeah.
nature, by default. Like, "Hey, there are 4 elements, and we only told you stories of 2 of them. Don't you want the 3rd and the 4th ones?" Yeah,
hmm Which is going to be
so smart.
interesting because it depends on what they do with those two other elements. Um, how like what are their characteristics? What struggles do they have, et cetera, et cetera. Like it would be interesting to see how they weave those in and maybe shine more of a spotlight on those two elements.
Mhm, mhm. And it being, coherent with what we've learned about them in this first movie. Like, there's a like, all of the athletes or the Cloud peoples zooming around, playing Quidditch.
Which is pretty legit. I
So
mean, if you're gonna play Quidditch, you might as well be a cloud.
cool. They can, like, reform or, like, absorb air from other people and then, like, shoot it out. Oh, that was
Yeah.
so cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So neat. Okay, I think some of the things we loved, the systemic racism that was able to show, I think the, like, wealth gaps, the classism, all of that is there as well.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think the way that Ember's received into Wade's family, I thought was really interesting. I mean, I'm curious your thoughts on that piece.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that that was really interesting, and I loved that we got to see that, and I it was just interesting seeing it in a kids movie too, and this honestly like some of the things that white people say about other races, not realizing that they are saying things that are insulting, saying things that are sometimes racist.
So
Um,
good.
and we see that here,
Mhm.
some of
Mhm.
the comments, and it's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? What is wrong with you people? So I really enjoyed that they were so welcoming, and yet there are still
So
these
good.
issues, because that feels pretty true to life.
Yes. It was eerily resonant.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. But, like, wrapped up in such good-naturedness, like, so
Yeah.
well-intentioned, so desiring to be welcoming and open, and it's just the lack of understanding and the ignorance that, is creating these moments of riff and awkwardness and alienation without them even realizing it, which I thought was really fascinating. Um, yeah. I was impressed in that scene at how well they managed to land that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Like
Mhm.
honestly, I didn't expect this movie to be like this at all. Like, when it
Yes, me
opened up
neither.
and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is about an immigrant family. Okay, got it.
I
Cool."
don't know what I think for maybe one trailer, I thought this was like a bigger scale, like the elements are gonna fight against each other for
Oh,
something or work and then finally realize they work together or something. I thought this was like the bigger scale, large story around like saving the world.
yeah, yeah, I thought it was gonna be, like, all of the elements kinda palling around Element City, and because in the trailers and stuff, you had seen Ember on the subway, and so, I don't know, in my brain, it was just like, "Oh, they're all chilling together, they're all coexisting, and then we're just gonna go on an adventure with everybody." No, that's not what this movie is.
Nope.
And I again, like, I love that we are getting more diverse creators, more diverse stories who are able to tell stories like this in a way that are probably more palatable and easier for people to connect with, maybe because they're bringing less of their biases or less of their opinions to an animated kids movie about elements.
Mhm.
So I think it's so cool that this exists and that they went there instead of
Mhm.
playing it safe and just like, oh, everybody lives in harmony. There might be a little tension, but it's fine. Like, nah,
Mhm.
man, we're gonna talk about some stuff. Get ready.
Yeah. Like here are the fire people that are living in squalor in the
Yeah.
edge parts of city and they're terrified of going to the center city because it's not made
Yeah.
for them. At the beginning of the film, to your point, like first 5-10 minutes, Ember says like, "Oh, I'm not going to Element City. It's not made for me. It's not made for people like us." I was like, "Oh, this is about to be a real nuanced story. Wow. Here you go. Buckle up."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
Mhm. Mhm. And then there are the individual character things that I also thought was really well done for them as individual characters. How they then interact with each other, I have some qualms with. But temper is something that is often mentioned in Ember's storyline and kind of her personal growth as a character and Wade's ability to show her that her temper's trying to tell her something. I thought was like a really great tool for young kids to recognize. Like I'm feeling these things and they're coming from somewhere. It's not this uncontrollable, like uh scary thing inside of me. It might be pointing to some root within me. I just thought that was just like a really smart tactic that parents can also use. Like, okay, you're feeling these ways. Where is that coming from? It's coming from somewhere. So I thought that was really smart. Great character growth moment for Ember. The second is Wade's ability to feel deeply being a source and a vehicle for him to have empathy for so many of the people that um are around him. And I think there's a really beautiful moment where they're at the game and one of the players is not doing well. And he's like, well, his mom is very sick, so I understand. And his reaction is to rally up the crowd. And so you see this connection between his ability to be so fully in touch with his emotions and then that feeling his ability to connect with other people and empathize, I thought was really great. What's a little toxic to me is that like Ember's ability to control her temper and the fact that her mother observes that her temper's faded and stuff is kind of
Mm-hmm.
coming from Wade's presence was like I love that he points things out for her, but I don't think that we should be communicating that this other person is going to be the solution to my problems and my temper. Like that is a journey that each individual needs to go on themselves, not let's bring in a person that is probably very opposite from me to like soothe that and mend that part of me for me. And I don't think that's I think this film is not explicit in that, but there are those undertones there where I was like, I'm not loving this part.
Yeah, yeah. It was definitely creeping up to that line of codependent, unhealthy relationship stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which we see in a lot of rom coms. So It fits well within the genre.
Yes,
Um,
one sentence summary is quite accurate.
but the other thing that I loved about those two characters is that we we are being more creative in what different genders feel in movies.
Yes.
I love
Mhm.
that Ember, the girl, has the fiery temper, and I love that Wade, the boy, is just crying at the drop of a hat.
Yes.
I just
Mhm.
love that so much because we're not
Mhm.
isolating emotions to certain genders anymore. At least we're getting better about
Mhm.
that. And just showing that, like, no, all of us experience anger from time to time. All of us can experience empathy. Like, these are
Yeah.
all good qualities, and we see the strengths of both her temper and his empathy. They both can actually be good things if used appropriately. Um, and I love that we are creating more expressions of using our emotions in a healthy way, identifying an
Yeah.
emotion and then realizing how we should act because of what it's telling us. I think that is
Mhm.
so helpful and so healthy. So I'm glad that we're seeing more of that. But I definitely agree with you that where they were going with that story of these two in a relationship is not maybe the most healthy if we
Mhm.
continue to follow that train of thought. But I think they stopped short of problematic things, but
Yep.
they were definitely on their way.
Yes. Yes. Almost getting there. There's just some small comments that I think
Yeah.
like Ember herself makes and then her mother makes. Um
Yeah.
but there is there but what's so interesting is that even with the rom-coms and even with the storyline, there is the element of truth, which is that we do have the ability to help each other grow and show and the things that are strengths in the people around us often are able to inspire us or teach us or show us other ways of living, right? Like Ember going and seeing this family that are such feelers is is inspiring for her, and also Wade seeing her passion and her conviction is inspiring for him. And so it's like this element of truth that once we take a little too far becomes codependence and becomes a little bit unhealthy. But if we reel it back, it is true. And I think, like, had these two been friends, there's less of that risk, right? Like they're helping each other become better, they're pointing things out with each other. It's when the mother's like, "Oh, you're so much less mad and your temper's
Hmm.
so great these days. You're so calm." And it's because she's mad. Okay, like, I'm like, okay, this is not the antidote.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Jumping into a relationship is not going to fix your emotional problems. In
Mhm.
fact, they
Mhm.
might get worse if
Yes.
you're not ready
Yes.
to confront those parts of you. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I do wish that this had been a friendship instead of a romantic
Me
relationship.
too. It's very on brand for us.
I know, it's so on brand. And like I I don't know, it is what it is. Not
Yeah.
going to change that part of me. Cuz I just I think especially because it is a kids movie,
Yeah.
can we
Yeah.
just start with being friends? Can we just start with being a good ally, you know? Like
True.
I don't know
True.
why we need to bring the romantic piece into it. Though I do think that there are some interesting things about like interracial relationships and all of that, but you can cover some of that as friends.
Yeah.
Um and so I and to go back to the point we were making earlier of there just being too much in this, I think
Mm.
if they were just friends, then we could have maybe explored some of these other things a bit more fully.
Mm. Because then there's less time spent on
Yes.
the Viviflower or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wisteria,
That was
Vivisteria,
yeah. That was
which
a
I still don't
detour,
really
but
know what that means other than just, like, a really sweet moment. It's, like,
yeah.
forms this, like, object, the glass ball, that's kind of the it carries all this weight and they use it in the emotional, but I'm like, it's just visually beautiful, so, like, that's great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it was a really cool way of like the elements working together, but like, did we need that detour? Because that felt like that took a while.
It really did. It was a lot.
Oh
Um,
well.
yeah. So, one thing that I felt when the movie ended was this Pixar theme that we love to just there's just so many movies that have at least in the past couple of years centered around this message of um the kid wanting to break free of parental expectations and feeling the weight of those, and then the parents also learning to essentially let go and let their kids fly. And I just thought it was fascinating to think about, one, how prominent that theme has been in the past couple of movies that we watched. The last animated children's movie, Turning Red, really centers around this as well, like how the grip of the parents and the expectations can suffocate them, and that the kid needs to go and like spread their wings. And so many movies have centered on this in the past couple of years that I think that it's an important message. And we've always talked about how Pixar is just so clever at creating children's stories, but that also are communicating to the parents as well, um, and have very important themes for parents to experience as they're taking their kids to these movies. But I do wonder if we continue down emphasizing this path and this messaging, and really like zero in on making sure this is communicated, like how much do we do that to the point where there's now a sense of a lack of balance in the responsibilities that children also feel, especially immigrant children feel towards their parents. There's almost this full like break free moment that she has, and I just wonder what that creates in the next generation. We already are incredibly individualistic. We already are seeing a generation, especially the younger generation, be incredibly focused on self and pursuit of self actualization. And I think that there's something really important and beautiful about tying that back to your roots and your connection. So the movie that comes to mind that does, I think, a really well balanced job of this is Encanto, because she she realizes her superpowers, not literally her superpowers, but her strengths and her talents and her convictions. But ultimately, this theme of it being fed back into her community, back into her family, and using that to um, serve the people that she loves is still very much there. And this idea of like Ember's now going away and pursuing her talents. And there is this beautiful moment of honor between her and her father. But I just wonder how we craft that messaging so that it's not so much emphasizing the self actualization of an individual, where you just are able to kind of like break free of your ties and your responsibilities to your family, and how we like manage that nuance well. And this is not as much a critique of this movie per se, but just this past slew of movies. Turning Red is like very much the parent is positioned as being too overbearing and uh, uh, like too much of a control freak with their child and having too many expectations. And I'm like, okay, yes, but some of those expectations are good. And this idea that the child is just like, you're doing too much, or you're imposing too much on me, I think could also get away from us a little bit too. I'm curious your thoughts on this.
No, I think that's interesting because I'm also thinking about the movies that like I watched as a kid, that
Mhm.
that have that similar theme. So like Little Mermaid, she rebels
Yes.
against her dad because she wants to go do a thing. Mulan disobeys her family so that she could save her dad. Pocahontas disobeys so that she can
Yeah.
save her community, you know? So I feel like this has been a thread throughout a lot of the movies that Disney and Pixar have created. It is interesting though that there's a little bit different bent in these that we're seeing, uh, that we didn't see before. So I think that, I don't know, it's interesting that we really love that theme of a person, rebelling to some degree against their family in order to go have an adventure or go do something noble or find themselves or whatever. Like we really enjoy that particular theme. So I wonder what that says about us as people, that we resonate with these stories so much of a protagonist breaking free from whatever they're in. I don't know. It's interesting that it's such a consistent theme.
And it's like, and it's the desire for adventure. It's like the Moana
Yeah.
syndrome of like, let's just get
Hmm.
like, let me go somewhere off this island. But the idea you brought up earlier around like her working with her community, figure out how to build a better life for her community. Like that would have been beautiful. Like she has this incredible talent that she's discovered through this self-actualization of her adventures and whatnot, of her glass making abilities. But like how can that be used to not go off to a faraway land and with this dude and go like learn her talents and
Yeah.
curate it for herself, but like how does that then tie back into like investing in her local community too, right? And
Hmm.
the life that her father left his homeland and built this community here, and this there's and I love that this shop is such a like gathering place for people in their community, the fire people that come in, and you often see the same um customers. Like there's so much that I think could have she could have served and been done here. Not that she can't go off, but I'm
Hmm.
just like that Encanto effect. Like we're all in this together and we can realize things for ourselves and our hopes and dreams. But there is this tie to community that I think is important. And when we, I think, fixate on this idea of like, let me as an individual go off and self actualize, like, what is it really for? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a similar issue with the ending. So I just created my own headcanon in that she goes off and she becomes a master at the craft of glassmaking, but then she
Brings it
comes
back.
back to serve
Yeah,
her community with her newfound skills,
I
which
love
is
that.
something that you see in real life all the time. People
Yes.
will leave their community and then they will come back bringing their skills and their expertise to serve an under resourced community. And so that's what I decided.
Mhm.
And so now I'm okay with the ending because that is what she does after she learns how to glass make.
I am adopting your headcanon.
Perfect. Great.
It's very good. I also love the idea of headcanon. Like, you know what? This is how it will be written
Yep.
up here in my head.
Yes.
And I am
Because
content
that's
now.
that's how I was okay with the ending. Otherwise, I would have been upset.
Mhm.
So, to avoid me being upset with this movie, I had to add a little addendum.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. Well, there's this, and I think what's also interesting is that there's this parallel actually of her going off to this faraway land and pursuing her dreams and the honor that she receives from her father,
Hmm.
and that parallel to the like dismissal that her father received from his father, and this that feeling of progress I think was satisfying. Like there's this empathy and understanding and desire for um understanding your child's dreams that we've progressed in this generation compared to the previous generation. um so yeah, maybe we just chart this graph and project it out a little bit more, which is that she then comes back
Hmm.
to honor tactically
Yeah.
her community.
Yeah. And I think to your point about, you know, these themes of a kid leaving, I wonder if it also, coming back to like culture and like individualist cultures like the United States are all focused on the individual above
Yeah.
the group, above the collective. And so like in this case, you have a very collective society in Firetown, and then you see Ember, the individual, leaving the collective for her own betterment. You know, so I think it's a very US version of this story. Whereas if this was written in a different nation that is a little bit more collectivist, maybe, then
Mhm.
that story would have gone a little bit different of
Mhm.
her
Yep.
her maybe leaving for a bit but coming back, or coming together with everybody. But this is a very a very US story, which is, that's not bad, but it's just that is our
Yeah.
culture.
Well, it's also funny because the one that is encouraging her to
Mhm.
state her truth,
Yep.
own her truth, and embrace her desires and dreams that are contrary to what her family's desires are is Wade. Like that just
Mhm.
again, eerily resonant of the worldviews and perspectives and how they like bump up against each other and can influence each other. It felt so accurate for Wade to be the one to be encouraging her as well in that piece, and her being racked with this kind of guilt and burden of responsibility she feels to her family, which also is
Yeah.
so well portrayed, I think.
Yes. Yeah. And also him not really like understanding
Yeah,
that guilt and
not
that
at
that
all.
weight that she feels of not only her parents but her community. Yeah, it's real spot on.
So good.
Yeah, and then he can just go with her too. And just,
Yeah.
I
Does
mean,
he
he presumably has money, but if you have money, then why are you a water inspector for the city? That was something that I
because
didn't
his family's
understand.
like so rich.
Yeah. So like,
He can just kind of go where he's like, "Oh yeah, this is my mother's apartment."
yeah. Yeah. I that was one of the questions that I had. Like, if you like, are you that passionate about being an inspector, like a city inspector, and writing tickets for people that you're choosing to do this? Or is
Oh,
it just,
yeah, interesting. I didn't think about that.
yeah, the little details that I get a little tripped up on. It's fine. We're fine.
That's true. It's just like a fun little like exploratory job for him. He's like, "Oh, this would be kind of fun."
Yeah, a way for him to like mingle with the people and practice empathy and connection, maybe? I don't know. I don't get it.
His uncle makes a call, gets him in.
Maybe that's why he's not so good at his job, is because his family got him the job.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
uh, okay, other things we wanted to talk about with this movie.
Okay, can we talk about other things that I didn't understand?
Yes, please. I'm
I
so tickled by these,
I'm
especially when
just
it's a children's movie. I just
I
love seeing your brain
know.
being like,
I know
what?
that
I call
it's a
you're like, I call
children's
bullshit on that
movie.
one.
Okay, so like in one of the flashbacks, the reason why Ember's parents needed to leave their home was because a storm came. But I'm like, what does that mean? Is this a metaphor? Or was it a like literal actual storm, which is air and water?
Oh,
Like,
that's
is
yeah.
there other stuff going on here? Is there and then you like, I don't understand how you can have
Probably
elements as
colonialism.
people. Yes. You can have elements as people and then elements as like actual elements. I think that is the basis of my
Oh.
confusion, because either the storm is a metaphor and so like, wow, there's a lot there, or it's an actual storm, meaning that storms exist in this elemental world, just like how there's like,
Or
or I love another
or
or.
they don't realize that there's other elements in the form. Like they see it as a
Oh,
storm, but it's really the British coming to colonize them.
okay.
I-
I will accept this. Honestly, let's throw some colonialism in there because why not?
And that
Yeah,
if they
buddy.
do that, I will be just so impressed. I think all of the adults in the room will also just be like, have just the kids will have no idea. There's like little water people that like speak in British accents.
Oh my gosh,
Their little
I
hats.
love it. Can we give them the little hats too and like
Yes.
maybe some pantaloons?
Oh my gosh, yes. Some water-based pantaloons.
Oh my gosh, it would be the cutest portrayal of colonialism ever.
I know. Like they're just pudging around, rolling in.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Honestly, it could work. We already did systemic racism and redlining and all of
you
that.
know?
So like, yeah,
Yes.
man, let's do some
Can we just
colonialism.
have like a history of the world docu-series
Oh,
told through the
yes.
elementals?
Honestly, I'm here for this. I'm not
Like
mad at it.
BBC's Andrew Marr version, it just will pale in comparison to this.
Yeah, man, we got elements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That would be
Oh,
really
it's
fun.
so good.
That would be really great. I wouldn't put it past Pixar. I mean, they made a movie about souls and the great beyond.
Yeah.
Nothing is beyond them.
Yeah.
Everything's fair game.
And
Like they
they,
talked about the afterlife
right?
and the concepts of imagination visually personified and
Yes.
souls visually
Yeah.
personified.
Well, and before that we had emotions.
Oh
So
my gosh,
like
yes.
we got it
That's
all.
true.
There's nothing
That's very
Pixar
true.
can't do.
What does colonialism look like in visual form?
But like I feel like you need to do it through some other, like
Yeah.
anthropomorphized thing.
Oh,
You
yes.
can't do it through people, but it
No,
needs to be
it's
through
true.
like elements
Elements.
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it is starting to rain so that we put out all of the fire. So we
Yeah.
extinguish all of the fire people. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
terrifying. But it kind of works.
It does work.
Yeah.
Okay. So the storm is colonialism
Yes.
is what we have decided.
But the fire people don't realize that
Yes.
it is another people.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's just some outside force.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Wow. We have just unlocked a new dimension of this whole film.
Yeah.
We're doing great.
Mm-hmm. What other difficult, hairy concepts about society can we weave into the next movies?
Right? My goodness. I mean, there's probably more,
Oh,
honestly.
yes. Oh, there's probably tons. They've woven in microaggressions.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did love, and like, I know that I didn't catch everything, but when Ember's mom was doing her like love making or love, what is it, like matchmaker stuff,
Yeah.
the first couple that you see, one of them is in a wheelchair.
Oh,
And I
I
thought
didn't
that
notice
that
that
was
detail. I love
really
that.
cool to like
Mm.
include a differently abled uh, element in this movie. Like they didn't have to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. So I love these like little moments that Disney and Pixar are doing to just show people who have different abilities, than we do, and
Mm-hmm.
that they are more
And
represented on screen. I think that's so
yeah,
cool.
and it's just part of the details. It's not the
Yes.
central storyline and the
Hmm.
key defining characteristic, but
Yeah.
diversity, of
Yeah.
of people that are very much a part of our society that we see that just aren't able to be seen.
Yeah.
I love that little
Yeah.
detail.
Getting more visibility on truly underrepresented people groups.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Mm-hmm.
cool. I
And
love it.
normalizing it too
Yes.
versus
Yeah.
othering them. Yeah. I love that. Those small details matter.
They really do.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay, are there other things that you were perplexed by?
I think, I mean, the central thing is just I don't understand how you can have elements and the element people. So like the water,
Oh.
water is rushing in from this boat and filling this canal, but then like Wade can like become part of the water, but then
Yes.
not part of the water. And like same thing with like they had
This
like
is true.
slides and stuff, and then they had like water in their houses and like basically lived in a giant pool. Like how does that work? If you are the element, how can you separate yourself from the other element? I just I'm I'm not good at science, but there's something there that I was like, this does not make sense in my brain. I like, how can you tell yourself from the other water when you are the same thing? I I don't understand.
So if there is water, then it makes sense that there could be a storm. Oh, but
Hmm.
maybe no, but it's wielded by, like, it's not literally little water peoples raining down. They're just wielding the element. Yeah.
I have some questions, and I'm thinking way too much about this child movie. Uh but
He's
that's
a
where we're at.
shapeshifter.
Yeah, and so then there like there are trees and stuff. So how does like the earth people and like presumably like dirt and stuff. So then how does like the earth people do? I don't know. I'm confused.
Like, do they look at the tree and they're like, "Hey, cousin Bob,
Right? Or like
you
is it like
meditating
a
today?"
different like is it a separate
Very.
species? Or like
Oh,
how
are they
I'm
racist against the non-living
oh my
elements?
goodness. Yes. So it's like the difference in like Lord of the Rings between the Ents and trees. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Like, they have not had a soul breathed into them yet.
Okay. So Soul needs to team up with
Oh, yes.
Elemental.
Yes. There is a soul granting factory somewhere where they take them. But
This is
then, like,
amazing.
if I'm an earth person and I
Yeah.
wanna, like, bulk up and
Yeah.
get, toned as heck
Yeah.
and
You want to get
big,
swole.
like, can I, like, just grab some from the tree and just, like, slap it on my body?
Oh,
'Cause that would be
that's
great.
a
I would like to
good
not have to
question.
work out and go to the gym.
Yeah, man.
Well, there was
That's
a
a
really
good
cute
question.
moment where, part of Ember's face got, like, extinguished out, and then she, like, drank some lighter fluid or it was, like, something like she did
Mhm.
a little something to, like, create more fire there to, like, regenerate herself.
Yeah, she like ate a piece of wood or
Or
something.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she
Like
ate a piece of,
fuel the fire.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's really cool. I love those little details, but I'm also like,
Like, my
wait,
brain
what?
cannot compute.
this this also doesn't fully work in my brain.
Yes. This
But
is
it's
true.
fine. It's a
It's all
children's movie.
magical. Yeah,
So,
but I love imagining the, like, nerve endings in your brain, the neurons firing, and it's just, like, pinging against this thing that's like, "Nope, this
I
doesn't make sense.
just
No,
it
no."
is very confusing to me. How he is water and then there's a puddle of water and he can remain distinct from the puddle of water, except for sometimes then he blends in with the puddle of water, but sometimes he doesn't. Like I don't I don't
But then
understand.
also his soul is preserved when he's evaporated. I thought that was really cute
Yes.
and such a fun little twist, like, visually too, to see him, like, cry, quote, unquote, "cry,"
Yeah.
and all the
That
little
I
water
also
droplets.
didn't understand, but I was like, whatever, it's fine, it's cute. This is what we're doing.
His little eyeballs show up. in the puddle.
Also, like, where were the eyeballs? Like you evaporated, you became steam, and then you come back together as a water person. But where were your eyes when you were evaporated? And then how did they come
And his
back?
shirt too. A shirt and his shorts.
But maybe his shirt like fell off of him. Like I'm okay with the shirt
Oh, the shirt is okay for you. It's the
because
eyeballs.
yes, because the shirt is a separate thing that he has to put on. So as he evaporated, then the shirt falls off and falls to the floor. So like I understand, I'm okay with the shirt. I'm not okay with the eyeballs.
That's so tragic. Can you imagine just like Ember hunched over, just this like wet shirt?
Holding the wet shirt in her arms as she's
like
crying
like maybe if
fiery
I
tears.
wring it out, maybe there's enough for him to form.
Oh my god, that would have been so funny. She's
Would
just
have been really
wringing out the shirt.
funny.
Come back, Wade, come back. Oh, that would have been
Wow.
amazing.
But then like it works because he evaporated into this tiny room. But if they were out in the wide open,
Oh,
like he can't summon all of his water droplets from the
wow.
air, which is why I think maybe that worked because it was like he seeped into
Hmm,
the brick or the
I
stone.
see. All right.
So then he's all like if he's always watching. He's always
That's
present.
terrifying.
That
That's real scary.
is really scary.
Talk about being a stalker. Like, wow.
I know. He's
Evaporate into
just
the brick,
stalking Ember
and then you're just
forever.
always there.
Ew.
Ember, we got to talk about your relationship choices, girl.
At first, I thought they really killed him off. I had
Mm.
a moment because I was like, Pixar would do this. They could, but
But would they, though?
I mean, we've done the great beyond and the afterlife,
That's true. That's true. That's true.
but not with a main character as cute and beloved
Yes.
as Wade. So yes, I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense. But there was a moment where I was like, wow, we're really gonna do this? Nope.
Nope. Will not.
That's maybe a little tragic for kids.
That would be very tragic for kids. We're okay with killing off a parent in the first half of the movie, but we cannot kill off a love interest in the last 10 minutes of a movie.
10 minutes.
These
This
are
is
the
not Game
rules.
of Thrones, okay?
No, we're not killing off people willy nilly.
Yeah.
Can only be a
This is
parent.
true. This is also not Spider-Man.
Very true.
Yeah. Not one as round and pudgy and endearing as Wade.
Yeah, he was really endearing. Very
They did a
likable
good job.
character.
Yes. Okay. Any other last thoughts before we wrap up?
I have a very important question.
Okay.
If you were an element in Element City, what element would you want to be?
Oh man.
I know I'm putting you on the
Well,
spot here.
well, my first thought is like, do I want to be an ignorant, uh, wealthy
Well,
oppressor?
okay. Let's just say we're gonna do the colorblind version of this, where we're not gonna bring in the racial baggage, and just say which cool element you want to be.
Okay,
Because if you want to be a water person, you'd be a water person who's a good ally.
okay. I just got such a kick out of the cloud people. Like every single one of the cloud people looked like such a great hang. I think I would want to be a cloud person.
Oh my gosh,
You can
me
choose different colors.
too.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me
Though
why.
I'm going to include a little asterisk because
Okay.
we don't know a lot about the cloud people. So
No.
I do reserve the right to change to a water person if the cloud people end up being lame.
Mhm.
But it would be so cool to be a cloud.
They look so fun. You can choose different colors, I guess,
Yes.
of which color cloud you want to be. You
Absolutely.
can
And you
like
can,
change forms.
yeah, man, and you could fly around too.
Yes, I
It
know.
would be so cool to be a cloud.
You also just are like big and fluffy and take up a lot of space, so you can just
Yeah.
like roll your way through, you know?
Oh, it'd be so fun.
Yeah. We learned very little about the Earth people.
Yeah.
Like, what cool things can they do?
Grow flowers out of their armpits.
That was so cute. You were like, no.
No, I
Not
did
really.
not enjoy that. I was really grossed out by that. So then, like, because of course
Oh.
I'm thinking about this more, and I'm going, okay, is this like a kid who is like starting to go through puberty, and so he's starting to like grow hair in his armpits? So then, like, if he's old, is he just gonna have armpits full of flowers? Like, again, I'm thinking too hard about a children's movie.
I need to watch the next Pixar movie with you while you are live sharing your thoughts. Like, I need you to just constantly be commentating.
Okay, so the
Like,
next time
stream of consciousness. Like, you cannot put any filters. Okay, Sarah? It's a very important detail.
okay. Okay, we can do that. The next movie that comes out on Disney Plus,
Yes.
we will meet up and
Yes. Live commentated.
we'll
And
just
and
have
I
some live
I
conversation.
just envision it being like we're like 10 minutes past that scene and you're still going. Like,
It's true.
and if he's an old man, do they come out of his legs as
It's
well?
true.
And do they
Are
change to become different flower species the older they
yeah.
get?
Is an old man's ear hair or nose hair, are they
Oh
flowers?
yeah.
Like, I have questions.
I have a question.
Oh man. I
Oh wow.
just this is
That'll
one
be
of those
great.
times where I just go, "Oh man, why am I the way that I am?"
Why are you like
Because
this?
no one else thought this while watching Elemental. Oh man.
No one thought about the like logistical principles of aging of the earth people and how that affects their floral development. And like, are they like perennials? Annuals?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Very good.
Good times.
Good stuff.
We started out with stalking,
Stalking?
and we have ended with flowers
Old
in your
earth
armpits.
people. Yes.
This
What
has
a
been quite an adventure
full
that we've
journey.
gone on today.
Oh man. All right. Well, this was our review and discussion of Elemental. You can find it available out in theaters. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Movies and Us. Our name sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories. Everyone is welcome here, and we're so glad you hung out with us today. You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a review letting us know your thoughts about Elemental. You can connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at MoviesandUsPod, or you can email us at moviesanduspod@gmail.com. Sarah, guess what we're reviewing next week?
Oh my gosh, the movie I have been waiting
Yeah.
for so long.
Your entire life has led up to this very moment.
Gosh, I'm gonna fangirl so hard. I'm
You are.
ready.
I've heard great things about it too. Like, I've heard it's one of his really
Me
good
too.
ones, so you're just gonna be over the moon.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited to experience your contagious excitement. Okay, well, we'll be back next week to discuss the newest Wes Anderson film, Asteroid City. So definitely come back and listen to Sarah gush about that one. We hope you have an amazing week, and we'll see you very soon.